Councillors, good afternoon. It has gone 1 o'clock. Councillor Pahuruhuriwa is on her way, but I will slowly start because her and I am on a flight shortly, so we will not delay the start of the meeting. Any apologies? Josh, Debbie, Winia, Annie, Rob, everyone here, just Annie for lateness. I'll move. Yep. Seconded by Councillor Wharehinga. All in favour? 1-3 carried. I'm going to take you to page 3 for our minutes, which were emailed out before. I'm quite happy what is in there. Moved by Councillor Gregory, seconded by Councillor Parata. All in favour? Aye. 1-3 carried. Let's take a look at our action register. That's next here. What is this last one about the consultation not good? And are we consulting in December?
No.
Yeah, so that is nullable.
We'll be by ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Ben Green, as always, welcome into the chambers. Page 11, councillors. We are going to hand over to you, and you can walk us through your report. Thank you.
Thank you. We've been probably blessed with certainly what has been a period of relative calm, I guess, in terms of where we've been for the last, level of tempo for the last 18 plus months. As you see in the report, certainly great to be receiving accolades in terms of the money. Really I promote it as a collective in terms of we certainly may be leading things, but for Tairāwhiti, particularly really in terms of the little group on the front of the fish is around how there are very much aspects that I think we do exceptionally well, which for other areas and particularly with my colleagues that look to certainly everything seek to integrate aspects of how we're doing and getting that connection with any of those. At the time of writing for the report, I had yet to attend to the finalists where we were nominated for the Albin Awards, which was down in Pōneke, and pleasing to walk away with the recognition for the Smart Communities category winner for the Marae Emergency Preparedness and Resilience Project. And that, if you've been across really the genesis of that, which commenced back in 2021, has been quite a relatively large project in terms of rollout, very much into aspects of completion, but we went to a sort of modified version of what I would call phase 2. It seeks to address the areas that weren't covered in terms of catastrophic risk exposure. They primarily were for catastrophic risk, the areas that were very much coastal, tsunami risk, and those within the high-risk flood catchments in terms of placing emergency resources there. We have been just moving through really just in terms of report on page 13, had the great opportunity to host the Fijian Disaster Management Office team. Also, just of note, they have Margot Solid, who's originally from Ruatoria, working for MFAT there in what was a police capacity. And that's really allowed us to sort of do nation-to-nation aspects of regional dispersed populations, which in the island sense is pretty similar to us, the way we operate across our remote areas outside of obviously the main built-up area. Unfortunately, it was cancelled just due to the US elections, but we were due to host the administrator for FEMA, which is the presidentially appointed person that looks after the national US emergency management system. We're looking to come here, which would have been last week. Cancelled just obviously due to American elections and everything else that's being rearranged with that now. But I'd like to think that offer in terms of what they would want to come specifically to Tairāwhiti for can be reset for the new year, and we look to really host it as we do for our part of the world and really connect them to, very interested in the First Nation kaupapa, as well as the operational aspects of how we might be very small in comparison to the States, but we're indicative of aspects of dealing with small disbursement of communities and resources and really the way we connect those. I think we should all celebrate, just at the bottom of page 13, an exceptional result for the 4th year running, but to get, it's actually not the fact that we've actually run it for the 4th year running, but we've seen year-on-year growth in terms of these people who understand the kaupapa around what the National Shakeout Drill and the Tsunami Hikoi represents. 27% of the population sign-up is extraordinary. That smashed the KPI that we'd set in terms of planning with the team. We started very late, but it's a very deliberate, compressed program in terms of introducing that for our community engagement, and equally what we do is the promotion for the campaign and why we do it. So, as you'll see, the key numbers for us really is the increase in households, because that is a reflective of what then translates back into the key group for us, and it's at that kura level. You know, I often say with this, around these programs or the hazard education, more often than not, you're trying to convince or have adults who want to challenge the science, versus the tamariki focus means we're going to normalise this in the sense that this is part of where we grow up and this is what happens in our part of the world, and it becomes really an embedded component of what that succession and equally the ability to take up that rākau in terms of their ownership when they come into that point for their communities in that regard there. So great effort. I have Kilmore was put in the lead for that, aptly supported by the rest of the team, but it's the program and the other businesses now we're including with that has certainly allowed us to really smash it out of the park in that regard there. Did have the pleasure of the Minister being in NEMA requesting to come into region for that. So for Wainui School, I do see an opportunity. One of the reasons at Wainui School there, we did a pilot program 2 years ago where there's a physical po which the schools we're looking to have as a physical rally point for them. Now, it's quite simple in terms of the application of that, but the schools get to put their decorations or the way that they paint it, and it's very much a formal part of where they embed it into. So I'll be looking for that probably heading into a work program for next year, the 25-26 year, where all of our at-risk kuras in those locations really we look to apply that same approach. They understand what hazard is, where that safe point to initiate the evacuation to, and it becomes really part of what the drill would then encompass in terms of being the annual practice for that.
I can report that the Minister barely reached the po because we were all in our jeans and sneakers, and the Minister did not get the memo that he was going to go up a hill. So he was huffing and puffing in his suit, but then he elegantly said, oh well, you need to be ready in your suit or your pyjamas or whatever. So we hoofed it out the back Wainui, and there's a po right up behind him on one of the farms where the kids know where to go to.
Yes.
The Minister was very impressed with the school and the group actually. He passed his congratulations on, and not only that, we're looking at implementing the procedures you use here nationally. So we're going to encourage other groups to actually look at what Ben does in respect of how he engages with the community, engages with the schools. Not only that, what his staff do on the social media pages as well, and that will be start to roll out across the country as well. So you might have a bit of competition next year.
I don't give away too many of our secrets. We'll have to. Just clarify the reference to the NZRT. There was an action point in the minutes. The model, and then we're just looking to park that to next year. The OPEX really was a component as a figure, if you recall, in the last meeting. I think we can draw that down, and really what we're trying to reduce is the burden on our ratepayers. So we're looking at scalability relevant to the establishment of the capability. So what that will mean is that in the new year, we'll bring that through with some revised costings and figures relevant to then actually what our corporate sponsorship model would look like. And it will be very much the start state for capability, so I'd never look at it as really it's a finite option. We're looking to obviously proliferate, embed, and you've all really provided some feedback with that. So. I'll talk to the work in progress within the sports facility. I'm not across the project. What as you'll see within the narrative, in terms of the site that I did visit, I was privileged to go across with Ngāti Pro and Messi to Washington State this year. I was actually visiting the Westport Elementary School. It's a very broad concept. It's this where building smart relevant to what you're looking at risk resilience is where you can actually achieve a strategic goal within the part of a build. And that's going through. I've had great engagement with the project team, with the lead, Joe. I know that there's costings implications to it. The quantity surveying, everything else, we actually test those assumptions. What it has attracted, and already I've had three sort of professors and actually people within the academia looking intensely at this project in terms of the ability to see what it would take to actually get it through to actually being an embedded component of it. I'm not across the project in detail of it. I'm very much a what if, and really for me it's around, we're not going to sort of ask ourselves we didn't not try around to what can be achieved with this. So Nawapuni, if you are familiar with the tsunami risk of that part of town, it's probably one of the most exposed areas of our many areas, but particularly for that school, Nawapuni, this would be some way to offset some of that risk there. The aspects that relate to the North Island severe weather inquiry, I think obviously the Minister released the key findings for that. I think the general comment around particularly those is that if you've gone back and looked at the historical references to the other reviews for other events, the very repetitive theme that presents with that NISWE report. And I guess the positive from that in terms of what the Minister is leading is really an aspect of finally looking to address the very much focus on the hui and actually looking at what does a DUI plan look like. So that's going through with DPMC. Ian can talk a bit more to that in terms of that process around the next steps and the milestones for March 2025.
In respect of the report, government adopted all recommendations that were made by Sir Jerry Manaparai. As a result of that, NEMA and some of the government agencies have now formed 7 working groups to address those issues and prioritise them. And that we'll start pulling on the groups to actually give us a hand. So there's a local, regional, national input into how we respond and how that's actually dealt with. Government also require us to report back by the end of January the priorities here and how we're going to resource it and how we're going to fund it as well. And then we'll be able to obviously provide some more advice on that back to where we're going, what we're doing and how it's going to be done.
I'll just ask one question. It's not to you guys, but just in the around the multi-sports complex, in this paper it says that this is to be built on the site. Have we finalised that, or is who's doing it, or whatever? Is that we're getting I've had quite a few people saying, why is it going there? And I'm saying, well, I didn't know that we'd even finalised it as a site. Can you just have a little bit of clarification on that one?
Nadine.
Yeah, thanks through your worship. So no, there hasn't been a decision made by council. It's our reserve, so we would have to determine whether or not we agree with that location. We are working in a team. There's a project team that's in place, looking at the options for the multi-purpose complex, the indoor complex. They've identified that area as a natural fit. It is a reserve. Sports activities are permitted, so zoned for that purpose in mind. But there's a step to be had. There's early assessments that are being made, and we would have to bring an approval to council to confirm that, or otherwise.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions of Ben?
Firstly, I just wanted to acknowledge lots of the ongoing awards, rolling awards that your team and I suppose the region has received. It's an acknowledgement, especially for what we've been through, and should be reassuring for the region that we've got the best of the best in the country. great today, just wanted to acknowledge it. Also, just wanted to acknowledge the relationship between ourselves and the Pacific Islands, particularly the Fijian visit, knowing what they also, the risks that they pose to the Pacific Islands, and they have hurricanes,
Cyclone, tsunami,
monsoon.
cyclone still.
Cyclone still. Yeah, and just wanted to acknowledge that. But the question I have is around the Tairawhiti response team. So are we saying that it's still an aspiration? We're not ready for that? We're not ready for the NZRT? Like that's not, because that was part of the conversation about developing the business case for a set amount of individuals who are super skilled. Is that right? And so is that no longer a priority, or is that we don't have money for that? And if that's the case and council can't pay for it, surely we can cash in some of the awards with the money? That'd be good,
I like your thinking. Leverage on it.
Surely we can cash them in. Your thoughts?
Through the chair, I genuinely think this is doable. It's really I mean, the figures do matter, because really if we're incurring too much in terms of what we're then really going to incur on a rate cut, that's really just in terms of the review, and there's a great bit of work done through the Pauline and the finance team to actually bring that through. I'd probably say it's a 95%, but really it wouldn't have been 100% to bring through, which would then not be reflective of how we can actually sort of probably make smarter savings in there, reduce that what will be incurred onto the ratepayer, and I'm probably talking well outside my remit here, but I think we can very much achieve it. It will be what we'll bring back in the year with the revised costings, but it won't dilute the effect. I think we've already, testing corporate sponsors. Some people are very much interested around what and how we do that. That's certainly where we rely on everyone here and the pulling power to really help sell that into.
I have one more supplementary question. Excuse me, congratulations on the top region for the shakeout. It's heartening to see so many people participate, knowing that maybe seduction zones will be an issue for us at some point, whether in our lifetime or the next. But I just want to know, beyond the shakeout, are communities having the conversation about not just how to survive the event, but what to do after an earthquake event or a tsunami event, knowing we've been really focused on water, we've been really focused on cyclones and flooding, and we know now how to deal with those things. We started preparing for drought at the end of last year, so we don't know for sure, but we started planning that. Have the same level of community involvement in regards to tsunami and earthquake. Are those plans in place?
Yeah, sure. That's the whole premise for that resourcing project, which is the one that was recognised in Elgin. What underscored that was the significant engagement program taken to set the scene, and I'll put to my very first guinea pig where I stumped up to seek permission to really initiate with Whakaheka and Te Aroha. For me, really the equipment doesn't say that the project's completed, because the bit that I really always say with the rollout of the project is the bit I want to own is the annual engagement to activate that equipment, which means that the community operated competencies to actually how to use it is got to be an annual training requirement for that. So when we're doing that, it's the opportunity to bring in the community team in terms of running small scenario-based vignettes around how you're setting up an emergency shelter, for example, running through really a small redacted versions of a Sims exercise. It also complements the fact you're teaching people how to turn on the desalination unit or the hybrid power units and how to set up a shelter. So we try and certainly not use that community time. We're privileged to get it. But, you know, when you ask someone to do something for you for a day, we know that generally there has to be work and turning up to. So we very much focus on the quality aspect of driving it and really keeping. And it is unique for Tairāwhiti with our model, is that we are really required to activate our communities directly.
Annie?
Good evening, kia ora. Kia ora, Ben. Thank you for the report. I was excited to see what you'd learned from the States in the school and how the new facility might incorporate an evacuation zone. But further to Rawinia's pātai, we focus a lot on the living past an event. Has there been any discussion or training around recovery of tūpapaku? What happens to those in the community in the extreme, in an event like a tsunami that we're expecting? Has there been conversations and also training around how that might be dealt with, or whānau, how communities address those issues?
Yeah, for the chair, I actually remember, particularly at our very first, would have been our second session around this, because catastrophic disaster response, particularly, we've got on one hand a fixed coronial process. It doesn't really cater for the fact that you're going to be dealing with, deceased victims, in the sense that you've got to actually respect the aspect of a coronial process followed. Now, for a region like ours, where every community largely to some degree will be impacted and certainly will be disconnected. So the balance between, disaster tikanga in the interface of the coronial process, which is very much a very rigid process, that hasn't really been put forward in terms of really that disaster tikanga being an embedded component of it. It's something we've always carried from that medium, because sitting within the national system for that, that's the reference to use in terms of really how and what do we expect communities to do. Your initial bit, no one's going to leave tūpapaku or deceased whānau lying there for the fact that someone at some point will come and do an investigation. I mean, we're not in Ukraine where that's, you sort of see those images. The motive aspect of what people do has to be balanced around doing the right thing, but accepting that tikanga will follow at a point, but you deal with the decorum and the dignity it takes to actually sort of identify where we're going to put people within the way that we do it, so that the coronial investigation process can then still be follow up for that. So there's certainly learnings out of the tsunami in those aspects there. They're not the sort of stuff we're pushing down yet into the level for the groups, you guys connected into it. I think evidently that's something that has to be part of disaster-based planning, particularly for a catastrophic event. Is there anything else, Ian, on that?
I want to say tikanga is definitely to the fore in these events, and so is safety. Under the police auspices, though, there's the mass disaster victim identification procedures that will be implemented. That'll be implemented with obviously and the tikanga in place to ensure that procedures are taken, respect is given at the same time. There is a system in place to deal with it.
Thank you, Your Worship. So part of the on our work program that's been progressed is the group management plan. So that outlines our strategic objectives and the way that we're going to do response and recovery in our region. So bringing in through that group plan expectations around management, tikanga, those kind of core components that are unique to us in region. The group plan is a really good place to ensure that it's in there, to make sure that those that are in response, Ben and others, are meeting what the community needs are.
Okay, any more questions? Ian, any update on your NEMA report for us?
But
I think so too.
The only bit I would add is that under assurance, we've just appointed Steph Mitchie as our DCE, and he will obviously employ 2 staff within the next year. Then we'll develop an assurance model to come out and obviously assess all groups in New Zealand and national agencies to to give you and government confidence in civil defence abilities.
Awesome. I'm happy to move your paper. Ben, is there anything else you wanted to add or?
It's not within the report, but certainly is under action. Having had the brief with the project officer yesterday, the development of group plan consultation in progress, and that
What is that for, Ben?
the review of the
Oh, yes.
group plan. So,
Yep.
much as Nadine referred to, that's the opportunity where we've got to make sure it's fit for purpose in terms of really the way that we as a region sort of need to incorporate these sort of things.
So councillors, that is our master plan that the group, us, own.
Yep.
So it's getting reviewed and making sure it's fit for purpose. So that is our big responsibility where we come in. Awesome. Seconded by Councillor Pahuru Huriwai. All in favour?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Ben Green. We're going to do recovery. Who's going to be in the recovery hot seat? Mr. Tim.
I think it's going to be a team effort.
Team effort.
So we've got Rod, Apology and China.
Yeah, Rob's in China. So I will start us off by, there's a presentation. So who's doing the presentation?
There is a presentation.
Worship, we could do it in song format.
Representative dance. You offered up your services, Ben. Okay, so the floor is yours.
Yep.
Julian is getting ready to do an interpretive dance or something.
Through here we've got Nick here for Woody Debris.
Yeah.
Baritone. I will do the writing portion, and we've got Joe
For everything else.
for proposal and community projects. I'm not sure, but take the report as read, and we'll use the.
Well, the question, Your Worship, is you do have the presentation in your pack. If you want, rather than us talk to that again, we can just respond to questions.
I'm very, very easy.
Constraints?
I know that I have been through all of this because I'm on the recovery group, but councillors might have some questions. So I think if you want to, you've seen it in your pack, why don't we open up for questions to everyone and we take it from there. Kapai? Good. Okay, the floor is open. We'll give everyone a minute.
Can I just note that I have a conflict?
Noted. Page 25, so this is all about our recovery, woody debris and the work happening there, then the bridges, and then it's the community-led programs, which Dina do for us, roads, the FOSL, which Joe is doing a stellar job of. We had a visit yesterday from gentleman Jamie Simmons. He spoke at the Local Government New Zealand conference last year. And who went with me last year? Rob and Jules. He spoke about the village in Australia that they totally moved uphill. And he had a very good interaction with Elliot yesterday from the recovery team. And it was I just sat back and watched these two talk about how their recovery work and what links and how to do it. So we could tap into some Australian expertise as well. And I think they tapped into our expertise too. And he had high praise, Joe, this is why I'm thinking of this, for our FOSL process. Okay, woody debris. Robinia, you go, and then Rob.
Oh no, Rob first because mine is flood resilience.
Just one question on the woody debris removal. The work that's been done up attachments with the helicopter, removing it. Just had a lot of feedback from people around the community around why the local helicopter operators weren't getting access to that work. And an outside Hawke's Bay company has been doing it. If I have any feedback on that, heard things that they haven't got the right gear, and they assure me that they have got the right gear. I've heard that they can't lift enough, and they say they can lift enough. It's quite hard when you're sitting there without knowing the situation. Hearsay is a great thing, and you can make up whatever you want. I just like a bit of a clarification of whether that work was tendered or how that was done, because yeah, we are getting a lot of flack, as well, I am as a councillor getting a lot of flack over it. So.
Thank you for that, and through Madam Chair, apologies, Rod can't be here as in China at present. As I understand it, well, there's a list of approved contractors that we have, and that helicopter company is on that approved list of contractors, and they had the gear to lift that. We are now having a bit of a re-look at what equipment is required for the job, and we're going to put out a tender for an expression of interest for other parties who aren't on the approved list of contractors, so that they can bid to make it more competitive.
Can I add, Your Worship, it also depends on who has contracted it. We're not the only ones that are contracting helicopters to remove woody debris. There are some other orders that are in play where some companies are doing the right thing and contracting their own to do some woody debris removal. So it may not be us.
Who's next?
Me.
Go.
Is it me? Just while I was having that quick thought about contractors and approved contractors, we've had the conversation over and over again about social procurement and whether or not the opportunities are being shared with new and upcoming contractors to get approved. Understandably, there's a process that requires experience. It would just be reassuring to know that where there are opportunities for you to break into the industry, that we're supporting them and their aspirations to go through that, because that will help the local economy. So that's more a comment than anything else. Secondly, I just wanted to bring us to the flood resilience, which is on page 44 of our agenda. I just wanted to get an update on how the community engagement for Te Karaka is going. So the reason I want to ask that is not just in regards to cyclones going through and hail, but in the June event that Wairoa had to declare, Te Karaka got very close to having to declare again. So just want to understand what the relationships are in Te Karaka and the community and the engagement that's happening there. I've got a supplementary question, but should I hold that back?
I'll hold till you get an answer and then you go supplementary. Who is going to talk to Te Karaka? Tim.
You go, and then we
You're
jump in.
looking more confident.
Well, it was at the last meeting.
You go, Tim. You go, Tim, and talk.
I'll go. Well, we have engaged the Te Karaka community, and we haven't established a panel that represents the entire geography. And we are in the modelling stage, so data gathering and modelling stage. Data gathering is complete. We're in the modelling stage, and that community engagement has gone through some natural development where the group was really interested in being involved in all decisions until it started to land that a lot of these decisions will end up being consequential. And now it's starting to move towards, well, what is the council going to eventually recommend for the area? So we don't have answers to that yet. We're working through it. But what we have achieved is establishing a community group of more than 20 people who represent the total geography of Te Karaka, and they're involved in the journey of that discussion. It is a learning process for everyone, and it's be careful what you wish for if you want to be in decision space. And I think anyone in local government would understand that. And I think that community is starting to understand that too. It will take some time for that modelling information to come back to make those decisions, and those decisions will be consequential for some parties. So that's a challenge for the area. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that response.
Supplementary question.
Same on that same page, that page 44, it says risks and issues. Program does not achieve community-led concept development and / or full community buy-in. Can I just get an explanation for that particular sentence, please?
Through the chair again, because there's trade-offs with some of these decisions that will eventually need to be made, there's no guarantee you'll get unanimous decisions, and that's what the risks sort of highlighting. So by going wide with the engagement at the outset, there'll be a record of engagement throughout the community. We can only hope that the recommended solution is self-evident on a few levels, and doesn't come down to a judgment call to singularities, you know. And we're hopeful that will happen.
Right, thank you very much.
Debbie?
I'm happy to move this thorough report, to which I had no questions at all. It was that thorough.
Yeah, it was a lovely
very
report.
informative, and it's a lot of work going fast now, isn't it? Thank you very much.
We are incredibly proud. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Parata, and I think it is timely again, because sometimes I do this and say this when we're in the recovery group, but there's no one there to hear it. But I am incredibly proud of how everyone is pulling together, and we are moving in the right direction, sometimes slowly, sometimes fast, but with great attitudes sometimes. And I think our community should be incredibly proud of what we as a community, not only the council, but everyone pulling their weight to try and bring us back to where we were before all these things happened. So, ka pai.
Just one question before we leave this. Just probably leads on from something that was mentioned in this morning. This Tikaraka upgrade of the stock banks, we're currently working with what we've already got funded up the left-hand west side of the flood banks, but the actual talking about the Tikaraka stock banks up in that area, is that not likely to be modelled and everything in time to maybe qualify for this Shane Jones fund that is sitting there, or they're talking about?
We don't need it. We've got a big chunk of funding already mounting, and we're in a foot race because it's a fixed number, but every fixed number reduces in value by inflationary factors year on year, and that includes it can run out, but it includes funding for Tikaraka. Yeah. So we don't feel we're going to need more, but there'll be the trade-offs will be more evident down the line of how you can't defend something without putting something else at risk. Yeah, on our river network. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. So when we did the negotiations last year around the buyouts, part of this was about making the case that you're wanting us to put 15, or council to put $15 million of ratepayer funding into this pool. That $15 million would have probably made a really good case on that, otherwise have gone into roading, or would have enabled us to do $100 million more work, probably more so, and therefore we want you to throw in these things on the table. So we negotiated to get the full amount that we thought that we would need for flood control, based on the information that the team had provided, and said, right, if we were to do all of the scheme, this is what we kind of think it'll cost. So we went ahead of the pack that did the after the deluge work. So otherwise, if we didn't get that, we would have been in with the pack. So we've been working with that special interest group previously, but because we had the flood and there was an opportunity, we got the funding, negotiated it.
Right, well done.
Wow, all in favour?
Aye.
1-3 carried. Anything else? So this is Irina's community-led plans. paper 46, that's just for noting. Any questions that we can ask Rina to get back to about her community-led program? You did ask a question last time about it, I remember now.
Oh, yeah, but my question is, can I pass, should I pass it down?
No, I think it's all open, just
I'm an active part of it, development.
that's good. No, it's active.
I'm an active part, I'm a recovery lead for the Regional Public Service Commission.
Oh, okay.
I think it's all good, you know, it's just a noting report, so I think you can participate if you can. And at this stage, it's just letting us know where they at, and then next time, hopefully we'll get an update on that. Yes.
It'd be good to have a list of the communities that
Yeah.
she's got.
Yes, so maybe we can ask if Rina can just email through the ones that she's working on, where they at, and we take it from there. Ka pai. Someone willing to move Rina's paper? Moved by Councillor Pahuru, seconded by Councillor Gregory. All in favour? Aye. Contrary, carried.